What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another deck profile here on TCG University for the card game UniVersus. My name's Tam, and today I'm going to be showing you the Huitzil deck that I played for the Retro Round 3 Campus Championship. What's Retro? Great question. Jasco has decided that they want to do an online tournament for the Retro Series, which is every card is legal from the original Red Horizon all the way up to our current standard build, except for a small ban list, which I will link down in the description down below. And we here at TCG University wanted to arm the good people out there, wanted to play in the event or even just spectate in the event of what are the awesome, amazing decks that you could play as or possibly be playing against. And so with that said, we're going to go ahead and jump into the Huitzil profile. All right, so Huitzil, before we jump into it, because of the fact that the retro event is going to be played in an online capacity, some of these cards are a little old and they're a little hard to get. So I do have some proxies inside of the deck, but you'll be able to see and read the cards up on the screen as we get to it. So what does Huitzil want to do? Huitzil, after the block steps, after my opponent has chosen if they want to block or not, I'm going to make my attacks really, really big. I just got the top 4 cards in my deck, getting rid of those terrible cards. I wasn't going to use them anyways, and try and pump a little extra pepper on my attacks, as well as he's unbelievably consistent by discarding character cards from my hand or my attached to my character as my staging area. After the ready phase, I get to draw an extra 2 cards. So I discard a card on my hand and draw 2 extras, essentially ending my turn as a 7 hand size character with 27 vitality. Holy cannoli! This deck that I have built is very volatile. I think this character could potentially be the best character in the format, and so really pay attention and see what cool things that you like or don't like about it. And so to start off, we are playing 3 additional Huitzil 1-dots. If I draw into my hand, not only is it a really solid 6 check, it's a 0 mid-block, but at the start of my turn, I discard it and then draw 2 additional cards. It just got the same abilities as Huitzil 1, and because Huitzil 1 was so good, they actually banned him, and they made a reprint of him, a second version called Huitzil 2. Huitzil 2 is a 4 hand size character with 38 vitality and does a lot of really awesome things, and this does count for Huitzil 1's really awesome ability. It says response once per turn. After my attack is blocked, I add the blocked attack back up to my hand. My opponent discards momentum. Enhance, all of my attacks become throws, and the response after my attack deals damage, my opponent discards a card. And so let's talk about what this character does in a nutshell, because stacking 1 and 2 on top of each other is insane. So every attack is a throw, and it gets big. If they block it, I get to add another card to my hand, so turning my 7 hand size character whenever I discard another Huitzil into now an 8 hand size character that has hit them, and every time that I touch them, they lose a resource out of their hand. And so every time that I hit them, it's harder for them to block later and later and later. Wow, super, super unfair. Not to mention the fact that, the reason he's a 4 hand size character is because his abilities are really, really strong. You toss that onto a 7 hand size character, it's just going to be trouble. So onto the attacks. Since we're playing the fire symbol and we do a lot of self-milling, the first obvious bread and butter card that we have is for Shadow Slicer. This card inside of this Huitzil deck can just be 40 vitality all by itself. It itself is 6 damage, and the normal amount of damage that we're going to be adding onto this is normally 4 extra damage. And so Shadow Slicer gets 2 by itself and then an extra 4 from Huitzil's response, and so now we have a 6 high for 10 that I've played 4 of. Just really, really strong stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and toss him over here, because we are trying to stack in our Huitzils, and as soon as we get into Huitzil 2-dot, the game is just snowballs into such a reckless mess. For my opponent, we're playing 4 Moon Ritual Dance. This is a really solid gauge card. It gets extra damage off of Huitzil. It lets me build in some extra cards, and with it being a 2 check, it's a little bit scary to not have enough built into my staging area. Not to mention, if I do have momentum, it gets a little bit bigger, gets to draw extra cards, and if they block it, I just pick it back up and play it again. It's so silly once we've gauged, and the Moon Ritual Dance on turn 1, turn 2 is so good at gauging. And the reason that we get so much damage is because I decided that I wanted to play a bunch of really bad checks. Because of the way that Huitzil works with the control check of the top 4 cards discarded and comparing the highest and the lowest, I decided that I'd play a bunch of 6s and a bunch of baddies. And the best bad check card in the deck underneath the fire symbol is for sure Hellfire Impalement. If you have not picked up this DLC pack, you have to in order to play in in UniVersus currently. This card says that I get to potentially draw a bunch of cards, and if I have checked poorly, which I probably will because of all the poor checks that I'm playing, I get to ready up my foundations and just continue on inside of my turn. Not to mention, with Huitzil 2, this is a throw. And then if they block it, I get to pick it back up and then play it again and then ready all my stuff once more. Super, super solid stuff. We're playing a 4 Let's Party. I'm sure this is a very specific attack that I'd like to pick up, and so Let's Party is the one that lets me do it. Whether it be an attack or an action that I need to combo off with, or I've got 3 Shadow Slices in my discard pile and I need to make sure I can find the fourth one. This is just a catch-all really good card. And not to mention, if they block it and I'm Huitzil 2, I just pick it up and play it again. And then it gets an extra on average 4 damage from Huitzil 1 dot, and so it's basically a 6 low for 10 that if they block, they have to deal with again. The next attack that we're playing is one of the best retro attacks in the game. We're playing Kunoichi no Mai. If it's the 4th attack that I've played this turn, it ignores progressive difficulty. Discard a momentum. I discard every card from my card pool. We both do, and then we both draw that many cards. I don't even care if this thing hits or not. What I care about is, because of the Hellfire impalement and how many cards that I've drawn and ready back up, playing this as a 4th card is super, super good. I get to clear my card pool, and then basically this card just says, take an extra turn, which is really, really strong in a character that has every attack in my deck as a throw, and they get an extra 5 damage. This card is just super, super valued. I will say, though, inside of the Campus Championship, which you can watch here out on the channel, I actually felt like I never wanted to play this card, not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't need to. I never needed to take another turn. By the time I got to my 4th attack, they were dead anyways. And then the last attack that we are playing is for Coffee Samba. This card is a wall breaker, one of the best 1-checks in the game. The Keen Meadows swears by it deck. This card just says, I draw 2, you draw 2, and then I commit as many foundations as you have cards in your hand. So I'm getting to draw extra cards, and then I'm turning off the potential options that you have when it comes to playing the game. Not to mention, this card all by itself inside of Huitzil can be upwards of 40 damage depending on what I accidentally hit, depending on the amount of multiples that I have. So if I'm playing against somebody like Goro, or I'm playing somebody that they're reducing my damage and I'm getting this stacked up momentum, I will toss a bunch of cards in their hand and then multiple out. And then on Huitzil, I get to respond and discard on every single one of those multiples. And so it's just big, beefy damage that they can't really do anything about. On to the actions. We are playing 4 Big Shot Punch. Play it. It's a 6 check. It's got a solid 1 high block. Your attack is +3 or -3 damage, and you pick up a Judy. And of course, with the 4 Big Shot Punches, we are playing 4 Big Shot Judy. It's a 1 low block, 6 check. After you play it, +3 or -3 speed, and you can pick up a punch. And so, as quickly as we're discarding cards into our card pool, we are packing on potentially 12 speed to 12 damage respectively, or -12 speed, -12 damage, and making sure that I get to keep my 27 vitality up even higher. And then not to mention putting 12 damage on a throw that if they block, you add it back to your hand and then you play it again, just seems really, really strong. And so why wouldn't I want to play it? And then the last action that we're playing is Double Not Over Yet. This card is such a saving grace. I think it's going to be one of the most popular cards in the entire retro format. For my next attack this turn, it gets +2 speed, +2 damage, and ignores progressive difficulty. There were plenty of times that I would play a Let's Party, have a couple foundations, check poorly, commit all of my cards out, and be like, oh no, my turn's going to be over. Well, it's not over yet. I'm going to search for my Not Over Yet, play it, and then play my Hellfire impalement on the 5. Normally it'd be on a 6, and I'd have to commit Huitzil, and my turn would be over, right? Well, with Not Over Yet, I get to, Not Over Yet, and then Hellfire impalement, even though I checked poorly, I get to ready all those cards back up. And so basically this card just says, hey, I didn't check bad this turn. I just removed a bunch of resources in order to continue to play. Plus, it gives my attack +2/+2. Why would I not like that? Okay, on to the foundations. The foundation lineup is incredibly simple. It's all there just to support the attack lineup, and they're pretty much all either aggressive or flow cards. And so the first card that we're going to play is 4 Soul of the Sword. This card says discard the top 3 cards of my deck. It gets +1 damage. So it's just a little baby Huitzil, as well as trying to find more Shadow Slicer targets, as well as trying to get bad checks out of my deck. Honestly, I don't want bad checks inside of my deck. I want them in my discard pile to then be removed to ready back up my cards. In the same vein, we're playing 4 Cursed Fate. I'm going to be drawing a ton of extra cards into my hand because of how Hellfire impalement works. And so I'm just discarding these bad, not good cards in order to grab a little bit of extra damage. Also, it's really solid spam. Onto the flow part of the deck, we're playing 4 Hidden Laughter. This is the card that you're going to see on screen. And basically, this card says that it ignores progressive difficulty. So if I've got a couple cards inside of my card pool already, I'll play the Hidden Laughter, and it doesn't count these 2. So it's just on a 2 once again. Really, really strong in order for building out on turn 1. Just a really, really good option under these 3 symbols to build out as much as I can. In the same vein, for Folktale Storyteller, if I've got 2 foundations, I discard the top 3 cards of my deck, working for my self-mill engine. I get to add it into my staging area. So I trade a resource from my hand into my staging area, and with the ability to draw so many cards off of the we're gonna find it off the Hellfire impalement. There he is. Off the Hellfire impalement, it's super easy to accidentally draw into 2 or 3 of these, and then just trade them from hand into onto field, and then get your bad checks out of the way, and so on and so forth. Just really solid stuff. Up next, we're playing for the Azure Nightmare. Once again, trading resources from our hand, as opposed to trading it from our hand to get extra damage off of Curse Fate. If we've committed it, I get to then ready it back up. Just super, super solid. That's a bit of a safety net. We're playing 4 Transformed Prince. This card is, once again, a 0/2, but if you check a foundation to play this, or excuse me, a non-attack card, your check actually gets increased by 3, so it's a 5. And so the reason it's down here in flow is because these are the first targets I want to remove in order to ready things with Hellfire Impalement. And lastly, it's got a really good mid block. And if you check it to play an attack, you get +1 damage for each card in your remove from game pile. So it can be anywhere from 1 damage, just removing itself, all the way up to, if I've cycled and played on my Punch and Judies, it could be like 18, 19 damage. And so 19 damage on a throw. It's just really, really solid. And then the last card in our deck is the only card that you can be considered a disruption card. We're playing 4 Wishing Ward, but it's actually more of a flow card because I have no problem if my opponent doesn't have no momentum, just flipping and discarding the top 3 cards of my deck to try and dig a little deeper. But yeah, discard the momentum is totally fine, as well as a little bit of disruption when it comes to my opponent's game plan of discarding cards out of my hand. If I discard it, I draw equal number of character cards in my staging area, and I'm playing 8 characters inside my deck. If I happen to gauge out or build them in, because Huitzil 1 dot's only a 3 diff, I get to just draw additional cards, draw more resources, potentially get that 1 block necessary, or, I don't know, draw a Punch or Judy, and just end your whole attack turn. And so there you have it. There is Huitzil 1 dot. What a contender. This character is absolutely insane inside of this format. And so I highly suggest you play him while you can. I'm not actually positive he'll be around for very much longer. So with that said, if you liked this, make sure you check out the other profiles here on the channel for this retro round, as well as the other retro rounds that we did. Check out the matches that were played this time, as well as all of the other times. Go out to twitch.tv/TCGUniversity. Follow out there to get the notification whenever we go live every Tuesday to whenever we play these matches. Join us in the chat. We'd love to have you. And then lastly, if you want to talk to me about your really cool Huitzil deck, go out to patreon.com/TCGUniversity, sub out there at the appropriate level, get access to our Discord, and shoot me a DM. I would absolutely love to sit down and talk to you about your Huitzil deck all day long. Us and any other student body or the faculty would. So from all of us here at TCG University, thank you very much for watching this video, and stay learnt.